49 minutes from now, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp delivering his final State of the State address. It will be his 8th one. So what should we be watching for? What main topics will he hit? And what did he potentially hint at yesterday during that chamber event? I'm joined now by political reporter Zach Merchant, co-host of the Georgia Vote. Zach, great to have you. What are you going to be watching in an hour?
Dan, good morning. I'm going to be watching for a lot because unlike in a lot of prior years where a lot of, if not all, of the big priorities that we could expect to see at a State of the State address had been sort of leaked out, softening the ground going into the big speech. This year, very different. The governor's agenda for this session has been a pretty closely guarded affair. A lot of folks from strategists to members of the press to lawmakers are going to be, not that they weren't paying attention in years past, of course, but this year I think especially paying very close attention because they do not know precisely what the governor is going to be talking about in, as you put it, 48 minutes now.
Let's get a countdown clock going here like New Year's. We're going to be watching with bated breath. Any reason why he would be holding this so close to his chest?
You know, I'm always wary of taking out the crystal ball, right? But I think because we are so close to the speech, I think we can chat about some possible scenarios, right?
Okay.
And then I do want to, in a moment, touch on the few things we do know. Is just yesterday at Eggs and Issues, which is if you don't know, in
I love
Georgia,
that name, by the way.
and it's not just, it's an event sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce here in Atlanta, but just about every chamber in every county, every city across the state has an Eggs and Issues. Some of them, I've been to lots of them. They're interesting. Usually not as glamorous as the big main event like yesterday at the Benz. But you know what? It all things are relative. Let's talk about what happened at Eggs and Issues yesterday, and then let's talk about maybe what we can expect today.
Okay.
Eggs and Issues, we saw a little bit of some priorities being floated out. The big takeaways, the governor in his kind of marquee address to this 1,000-plus person crowd of business leaders and lawmakers and policy setters, he was talking a lot about infrastructure.
Yeah.
He unveiled a plan. He's calling for about $2 billion for road infrastructure, $1.8 billion of that, which is almost the entirety of it, the lion's share. He wants to go towards highway development in Henry County. There's also a call, much smaller dollar figure, but he wanted about $50 million for an initiative to combat homelessness in the state, which is an issue I think Republicans and Democrats have talked about in one way or another, particularly since the pandemic, the challenges facing the
while
unhoused
many
population
politicians are all
more visible and many would say exacerbated. That's what we have on the table right now, Dan. But you may be sitting here and saying, well, gee, that's probably not his whole agenda.
No, that's a couple things that no doubt he'll hint on. He teased him yesterday. But, I mean, anything else you're going to be watching for? This is his chance to kind of start to cement his legacy, too. So is he going to be balancing some of those legacy issues, tax policy and economic growth with some of the things he floated yesterday?
Let's talk about, let me give you the two buckets that a lot of the political strategists, a lot of sort of connected folks that we talk about usually point to in this conversation. And then let me introduce a third that I am thinking about that maybe isn't discussed quite as much as a wild card here. And we can do this because we're about to see the speech.
I love this.
We're not getting too far out over our skis. You talk to a lot of folks in Georgia politics, they point to one of two options. They say, there's a chance the governor plays it, you don't want to say safe, but plays it more safe than in past years, doesn't take as big of a swing on policy issues, tries to firm up the areas that he feels he's already politically strong in, burnish his legacy, but not exert too much political capital in his last year. Don't want to say ride off into the sunset, but, strengthen the strengths, don't get too into the weeds of things that could bog you down, end on what would feel like in the governor's office a high note.
Sure.
Go out the door feeling good. Bucket number two, take a big swing. You're a very popular governor in your last year in office. You have, many conservatives would say, already checked many of the big ticket items off of your list of the kind of conservative wish list 8 years ago when the governor came in, when it comes to guns, when it comes to restricting access to abortion, when it comes to some issues at least surrounding transgender kids' access to sports. A lot of these issues were hot button, tough fights in the legislature, and the governor got them all done. Okay. Democrats would look at that and they'd be very upset about that from a Republican and conservative's perspective. They feel pretty good. So the governor may say, look, I've done all this, and I'm going to push hard again this year and show you I still have as much flex as I did in year one.
Sure.
Bucket number three.
The wild card?
Wild card. And it may play into a little bit of this. one of the reasons, and I don't know this at all, this is just a thought bubble I've had in the last couple of weeks. Perhaps he is keeping this and his remarks closely guarded because he wants to frame at least part of his speech today as a message to the candidates that are running to replace him and to the candidates who are running in some other marquee races, including for U.S. Senate.
Okay.
Play a role, a little bit of a party elder, and try to steer the next generation of big-time politicians in Georgia, the next state leaders, in a direction that he wants them to go. Because inside the Republican Party, the Republicans control the state of Georgia, but there are different factions of the party. There's a more President Donald Trump-aligned faction. There's a faction that is more aligned with Governor Brian Kemp. Sometimes those factions come together. Sometimes there is distance. We'll see what the governor has to say about all that
So
today.
he could be propping up his buddy Derek Dooley, who he's throwing his weight behind for U.S.
He
Senate.
could. I mean, I certainly would be shocked if he was naming politicians like that in
Sure.
his State of the State remarks.
Sure.
But can I read you a little quote here?
Please.
If you're watching along, let's do a little read along here. There was one line at the very end of the governor's eggs and issues remarks yesterday that caught my attention. And this is what he said. This is a selected part of it. He said, "We were elected to stay focused on the issues that actually matter to those we serve. For those who can think of nothing else but the upcoming election, let me share a word of advice. If you fail to listen to the people, you will fail to earn their vote." Read into that what you will, but that is certainly a message to folks on the ballot. And it seems to me that the governor was at least hinting at steer away, perhaps, from some of the most red meat issues.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right. Well, we're going to be watching, and we're going to, in fact, have you in here watching with us live at 11 a.m., and we'll get your immediate analysis afterwards. So looking forward to that, Zach. See you back here soon.
We'll see you, back here in like 40 minutes.
All
It is
right.
always an interesting day in Georgia politics.
Come on back. Go get some eggs and issues or whatever you need to do in the next 30 minutes.
We'll see you then.
We appreciate it.